Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun!
The air was heavy, an exotic concoction of ocean breeze and fragrant lotus blossoms, a quintessential balm for the senses. Beneath a swaying coconut tree, the resort's turquoise pool mirrored the vivid sky, inviting with its cool allure. Laughter and merriment filled the air as a group of vacationers, their faces flushed with camaraderie and strong cocktails, gathered around a game that unraveled secrets. "Hayden, you're up!" exclaimed Derek, a sense of mischief in his voice, as his eyes twinkled behind the stylish shades he wore. "Your choice, my friend. Truth or dare?" After downing the last sip of his third piña colada, Hayden, a seasoned corporate nomad, replied without hesitation. "Dare. I dare it all." His wife, Zelda, a spirited soul with a playful grin, leaned forward, her auburn curls dancing around her face. "I dare you to wear my swimsuit to the pool tomorrow." The group erupted in laughter. Hayes nearly choked on his drink. "You're not serious?" "Deadly." Zoe's fingers tapped against her thigh. "My new floral bikini and the matching cover-up." "Absolutely not." Hayes crossed his arms over his chest. His brown swim trunks and plain t-shirt suddenly seemed like armor he wasn't willing to relinquish. "Rules are rules, man," Derek chimed in, raising his glass. "You said consequences." "I'll do anything else. Double dare me." "Nope." Zoe shook her head, the gold hoops in her ears catching the sunlight. "It's decided. Tomorrow at noon. Right here." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Hayes tried bargaining, pleading, even bribery, but Zoe remained unmoved. Back in their room, she laid out the offending garments, a vibrant bikini with a pattern of tropical flowers in shades of turquoise, fuchsia, and yellow, alongside a sheer turquoise cover-up. "This is ridiculous!" Hayes paced the room in his navy shorts and white resort polo. "I won't do it." "It's just a game." Zoe applied moisturizer to her sun-kissed shoulders. "Nobody will even remember by dinner time." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one who'll be humiliated." "Don't be so dramatic. We've known these people for years. Besides, it's our last day here. You'll never see the other resort guests again." Hayes slept fitfully, his dreams a strange kaleidoscope of embarrassing scenarios and inexplicable anticipation. Morning arrived with relentless sunshine streaming through the curtains. Hayes opened one eye, hoping yesterday had been some bizarre dream. The bikini still hung on the closet door handle, almost taunting him. "Rise and shine," Zoe chirped, already dressed in an alternate swimsuit, a modest one-piece in navy blue. "Big day ahead." "I was thinking." Hayes sat up, running fingers through his short blonde hair. "Maybe I could pay a forfeit instead? Buy everyone dinner?" "Not a chance. A deal's a deal." She tossed the bikini onto the bed beside him. "I'll be at breakfast. You have until noon." Alone in the room, Hayes stared at the swimwear. Reaching out, he touched the material, softer than expected. Something strange stirred inside him, a curiosity he'd buried so deep he hardly recognized it. With trembling hands, he picked up the bikini bottoms. "This is insane," he muttered to himself, yet continued. The material slid up his legs, fitting snugly around his hips. The top followed, awkwardly adjusted to accommodate his broader shoulders. Standing before the mirror, Hayes expected to feel ridiculous. Instead, a wave of something like recognition washed over him. The contrast of the bright colors against his skin, the way the fabric curved. It wasn't awful. It was interesting. The sheer cover-up completed the ensemble, draping over his shoulders and falling to mid-thigh. Hayes turned side to side, examining his reflection with increasing fascination rather than the disgust he'd anticipated. Noon approached with terrifying speed. Hayes paced the room, alternating between determination and panic. At 11:55, he grabbed a resort towel, wrapped it around his waist, and forced himself outside. The walk to the pool felt like a death march. Every step in his regular sandals brought him closer to public humiliation. The group spotted him immediately, cheering as he approached. "I knew you'd come through!" Zoe beamed, looking genuinely surprised. "Let's see the full look." Hayes clutched the towel tighter. "Can't I just wade in the shallow end and call it done?" "Not a chance," Derek called out. "Full consequences!" With a deep breath that did nothing to calm his racing heart, Hayes dropped the towel. Silence fell over the group, followed by whistles and applause. Hayes kept his eyes fixed on the concrete, aware of stares from other resort guests. His face burned hotter than the midday sun. "Now the catwalk strut," Zoe insisted, making a circular motion with her finger. Hayes managed an awkward turn, the cover-up billowing slightly in the breeze. Something shifted inside him with each step, the mortification gradually giving way to an unexpected sensation. Freedom. The fabric against his skin, the openness, the colors. It all felt strangely right. "All right, show's over," he finally said, reaching for the towel. "Not so fast," Zoe countered. "The dare was to wear it to the pool. That means actually using the pool." Before he could protest, Hayes found himself guided to the water's edge. With a resigned sigh, he slipped off the cover-up and stepped down the pool stairs. The cool water enveloped him, and suddenly, the eyes of others mattered less. Moving through the water in the unfamiliar swimwear became a private exploration. The way the water flowed differently around the fabric, how his body felt lighter, more graceful, it was revelatory. Hayes swam laps while the others resumed their drinking and chatting. After the initial spectacle, they'd lost interest, but Hayes hadn't. Each stroke through the water reinforced the strange comfort he'd discovered. This punishment had somehow transformed into something else entirely. Hours passed. The sun began its descent, painting the sky in pinks that matched the flowers on his borrowed swimsuit. Most of the group had retreated to prepare for dinner, but Hayes remained, floating on his back, staring at the darkening sky. "You coming?" Zoe approached the pool edge, now dressed in a sundress. "Everyone's heading back to change for dinner." Hayes stood in the chest-deep water, droplets cascading down the bikini top. "Yeah, I'll be right there." Back in their room, Hayes removed the wet swimwear with a reluctance that confused him. Hanging it to dry, his fingertips lingered on the material. "You were a good sport," Zoe said, applying makeup in the bathroom mirror. "I thought you'd back out." Hayes pulled on khaki shorts and a button-down shirt, feeling somehow restricted after the freedom of the pool. "It wasn't as terrible as I expected." Zoe paused, mascara wand midair. "Wait, are you saying you actually enjoyed it?" "No," Hayes answered too quickly. "I mean, it was just different. The swimming felt nice." She studied him for a moment, then returned to her makeup. "Well, dare completed successfully. Now we can laugh about the time Hayes wore a bikini for years to come." But Hayes wasn't laughing internally. He was questioning. Throughout dinner, while the others recounted the day's events with exaggerated descriptions, his mind drifted back to those hours in the pool. Something had awoken, something long suppressed. The vacation ended the following day. Back home in their suburban house, life resumed its predictable rhythm. Hayes returned to his accounting firm, wearing conservative suits and polished shoes. Yet, beneath the familiar routine, a persistent thought had taken root. 2 weeks after returning, while Zoe visited her parents for the weekend, Hayes found himself standing in a department store, heart pounding as he eyed the women's swimwear section. No one knew him here, located in a mall across town. "Can I help you find something?" A saleswoman approached with a customer service smile. "I'm looking for a gift for my wife." The lie came easily. "Anniversary? Birthday?" "Just because." Hayes managed a smile. "She likes colorful patterns. Florals." The saleswoman led him through racks of swimsuits, pointing out bestsellers. Hayes nodded absently until a teal one-piece with a pattern of hibiscus flowers caught his eye. "That one's new this season," the saleswoman noted. "Size?" Hayes estimated, based on what he knew of Zoe's size and his own build. The purchase was made in a haze of adrenaline, the swimsuit wrapped in tissue paper and placed in a glossy bag emblazoned with the store's logo. Alone in the house, Hayes removed the tags with shaking hands. The material felt exquisite against his skin as he slipped it on, adjusting it over his chest and hips. Standing before the full-length mirror in their bedroom, he barely recognized himself. Yet, somehow, he was seeing his true self for the first time. That night, Hayes sat on the edge of the bathtub, contemplating the razor in his hand. With slow, deliberate strokes, he shaved his legs, watching dark blonde hair swirl down the drain. The smooth skin that emerged felt right in a way he couldn't articulate. When Zoe returned Sunday evening, the swimsuit was hidden in the back of Hayes's sock drawer, along with the department store receipt he hadn't had the courage to destroy. Weeks passed. Spring melted into summer. The community pool opened, but Hayes declined Zoe's invitations to go, claiming work stress and deadlines. Instead, he found himself driving to a state park an hour away, where no one would recognize him. In the privacy of a family changing room, Hayes transformed. The teal swimsuit, a wide-brimmed hat, and large sunglasses created an anonymity that allowed him to step onto the beach with newfound confidence. He selected a spot away from crowds, laid out a towel, and for the first time, experienced sunlight on his smooth legs in public. Swimming in the lake that day changed everything. The freedom he'd first tasted at the resort pool multiplied tenfold. In the water, moving with a grace he'd never known in his accountant's body, Hayes began to understand that this wasn't just about clothing or a dare gone interesting. This was about identity. The drive home was filled with swirling thoughts. Words he'd heard but never applied to himself surfaced. Transgender, transition, authentic self. Each term carried weight and possibility. That evening, while Zoe slept, Hayes researched on his laptop. Forums, medical information, personal stories. Each click revealed a world where his feelings weren't alien or shameful, but recognized and validated. Dawn was breaking when he finally closed the computer, exhausted but clear-eyed for the first time. Days turned into weeks of secret swims and late-night research. Hayes began to understand that the person he presented to the world, the conservative accountant with the perfect lawn and sensible investment portfolio, was a carefully constructed facade. Beneath it lived someone yearning to emerge. The breaking point came during a summer thunderstorm. Alone in the house while Zoe attended a work conference, Hayes stood before the mirror in the teal swimsuit, no longer seeing it as disguise, but as revelation. Lightning illuminated the room, and in that flash, Hayes saw her future self, not just a man in women's clothing, but a woman who had always existed inside. "Alani," she whispered to her reflection, trying the name she'd discovered during her research. Hawaiian, meaning orange tree, bright and vibrant like the colors she was drawn to. The name felt like coming home. The following Monday, Hayes, still presenting as male in a charcoal suit and blue tie, made an appointment with a therapist specializing in gender identity. Dr. Patterson's office was warm, with plants on every surface and diplomas discreetly displayed. "What brings you here today?" The older woman's voice was kind, without judgment. Hayes twisted his wedding band. "I think I'm not who I've been pretending to be." The words spilled out. The resort dare, the unexpected freedom, the secret swims, the late-night research. Dr. Patterson listened without interruption, occasionally nodding. "So, where do you see yourself going from here?" she finally asked, when Hayes fell silent. "I don't know. I'm married. I have a career, friends, family expectations. But continuing to live as Hayes feels increasingly impossible." "These feelings won't disappear," Dr. Patterson said gently.
"In my experience, they only grow stronger when suppressed. Would you say that's been true for you?"
Hayes nodded, tears threatening.
"Since that day at the resort, it's all I think about. Not just the clothes, but being her, being Alani." "Alani,"
Dr. Patterson repeated.
"Is that the name you've chosen?"
"Yes, it means orange tree. It's beautiful." Weekly therapy sessions became Alani's anchor. While still presenting as Hayes publicly, she began building the foundation for her true self. Dr. Patterson helped navigate the complex emotions and practical considerations of transition. The hardest conversation loomed largest, telling Zoe. Alani rehearsed countless times, imagining every possible reaction. Would there be anger, disgust, rejection? Or could there possibly be understanding? 3 months after beginning therapy, Alani, still dressed as Hayes in casual weekend clothes, jeans, and a blue polo, sat Zoe down in their living room. "We need to talk about something important," Alani began, voice steady despite her racing heart. Zoe looked concerned. "Are you sick? Is it work?" "No, nothing like that." Alani took a deep breath. "Do you remember our vacation last spring? The truth or consequences game?" "When you wore my bikini?" Zoe smiled. "Hard to forget. Derek still brings it up every time we see them." "That day changed me." Alani reached for Zoe's hand. "Or rather, it helped me recognize something that's always been true, but that I never had the courage to face." Confusion crossed Zoe's features. "What do you mean?" "I'm transgender, Zoe. I'm a woman. I always have been. Though I've spent my whole life trying to be the man everyone expected." The words hung in the air between them. Zoe withdrew her hand. "Is this a joke?" "No. I've been seeing a therapist. This isn't a phase or confusion. It's who I am." "But we've been married for 8 years. You've never said anything about this before." "Because I didn't have the words or courage. That day by the pool was like waking up. Everything that felt wrong suddenly made sense. Zoe stood, pacing the living room. So, what are you saying? You want to dress in women's clothes? You want to be called she? Yes.
My name is Alani.
Alani. Zoe repeated the name like testing an unfamiliar food. And what does this mean for us? For our marriage? I don't know, Alani admitted. I love you. That hasn't changed. But I need to live authentically. I can't keep pretending. The conversation stretched late into the night. Tears were shed, questions asked that Alani couldn't always answer. Zoe oscillated between confusion, anger, hurt, and occasional moments of tentative understanding. I need time, Zoe finally said as midnight approached. This is enormous. I don't know how to process it all. I understand. Alani nodded. Take whatever time you need. I've had months to think about this. It's not fair to expect you to adjust immediately. Zoe moved into the guest room that night. The physical distance mirrored the emotional chasm that had opened between them, not from lack of love, but from the seismic shift in their shared reality. The following weeks established new patterns. Alani continued presenting as male at work, while beginning to live as herself at home. Zoe watched with a mixture of fascination and trepidation as her husband transformed before her eyes. Small changes came first. Body hair disappeared. Subtle makeup appeared on weekends. Hair grew longer, just past the ears, styled differently. The teal swimsuit was joined by modest skirts and feminine tops, worn only within the safety of their home. This turquoise blouse brings out your eyes, Zoe commented one evening, surprising them both with her observation. Thank you. Alani smiled tentatively. It's one of my favorites. These moments of normalcy became treasures amid the uncertainty. Sometimes they'd cook dinner together or watch a movie like before, except now Alani wore a soft sweater and leggings instead of sweatpants. In these glimpses, they both saw possibilities for a different kind of future together. Other times, the gulf seemed insurmountable. Zoe crying in the bathroom, overwhelmed by grief for the husband she felt she was losing. Alani sitting alone in their room, scroll through social media pages of women with journeys similar to hers, seeking courage. 2 months after Alani's disclosure, Zoe invited her sister, Rachel, for dinner. Alani panicked. Are you going to tell her about me? About this? She gestured to the feminine cardigan and skinny jeans she wore around the house. No, not yet, Zoe assured her. You can change before she arrives if you're not ready. Relief washed over Alani, followed immediately by shame at having to hide again. The masculine clothes she put on for Rachel's visit felt like a costume now, restrictive and false. During dinner, Rachel chatted about her children and upcoming vacation plans. Alani nodded and smiled in all the right places while feeling increasingly disconnected from the conversation, from the persona she was projecting. You're quiet tonight, Rachel observed, directing her comment to Hayes, the person she thought she was addressing. Everything okay at work? Just tired, Alani replied, hating the deeper register she forced into her voice. Big project deadline coming up. After Rachel left, Alani collapsed onto the sofa. I can't keep doing this, being two different people. It's tearing me apart. Zoe sat beside her, leaving careful space between them. I know, but coming out to everyone, it's a big step. For both of us, Alani acknowledged. Your life changes too. People will talk, Ask questions. Not everyone will understand. Some might never understand, Zoe agreed. My parents certainly won't. The conversation marked a turning point. The next day, Zoe accompanied Alani to a session with Dr. Patterson, bringing her questions and fears into the open. While not entirely comfortable, she was trying, and that effort meant everything to Alani. Professional changes came next. Alani scheduled a meeting with her firm's HR director, explaining her situation and intent to transition. Employment protections existed on paper, but real-world application remained uncertain.
We've never had an employee transition before,
Mr. Finch admitted, shuffling papers on his desk.
There will be logistics to consider.
Bathroom use, client interactions, insurance coverage for any medical aspects. I understand. Alani sat tall in her chair, still dressed in Hayes's conservative suit, but with subtle changes. Clear nail polish, a more feminine watch. I'm prepared to address concerns and work through challenges. All I ask is for basic respect and the opportunity to continue contributing to the firm. The conversation was neither entirely negative nor overwhelmingly positive. Like most aspects of transition, it existed in a gray area of cautious possibility. Coming out at work happened gradually. A company-wide email announced that Hayes would now be known as Alani, using feminine pronouns. The women's restroom nearest accounting was designated single occupancy to ease the transition period. Alani's wardrobe evolved from masculine suits to women's professional attire, tailored blazers, modest skirts, and blouses in colors that made her feel confident. The reactions varied predictably. Some colleagues were immediately supportive, using her correct name without hesitation. Others maintained an awkward distance, uncertain how to interact with her. A few made their disapproval clear through whispers and pointed avoidance. Darren, from tax preparation, stopped by her office on the first day she wore a knee-length navy skirt and cream blouse. Just wanted to say you look nice today, Alani. That color suits you. The simple kindness brought tears to her eyes. Thank you, Darren. That means a lot. Client relationships proved more challenging. Some long-term clients requested different accountants when informed of her transition. Others continued working with her, but struggled with name and pronoun usage, making meetings uncomfortable for everyone involved. Through it all, Alani maintained her professional competence. Numbers didn't care about gender. Balance sheets remained balanced regardless of who reconciled them. Her work became a refuge of consistency amid the social turbulence. 6 months into her social transition, Alani consulted with medical professionals about physical changes. The endocrinologist explained hormone therapy options, potential effects, and timelines. The information was both exciting and overwhelming. Many changes from estrogen therapy are gradual, Dr. Huang explained in her bright office decorated with anatomical diagrams and family photos. Skin softening, fat redistribution, emotional shifts. Others, like breast development, become noticeable within months. Alani left the appointment with prescriptions and a head swimming with possibilities. That evening, she placed the first estradiol pill under her tongue, feeling simultaneously terrified and like she was finally taking her first real breath. Zoe watched the ritual with complex emotions evident on her face. Their relationship had evolved into something neither of them had anticipated. Not quite the marriage they'd had before, not separate lives, but a partnership being reimagined day by day. Are you scared? Zoe asked as they prepared for bed, now sharing the master bedroom again, though sleeping separately. Terrified, Alani admitted, brushing her now shoulder-length blonde hair, but more afraid of not doing it, of never knowing who I could become. As hormones gradually reshaped her body, Alani's confidence blossomed. Her skin softened, features subtly rounded, and modest breasts developed. Each change affirmed what she'd always known. This was the body she was meant to inhabit. Swimming, which had catalyzed her awakening, became central to her new life. The teal one-piece was joined by a collection of vibrant swimwear, a royal blue tank suit with racing stripes for lap swimming, a patterned bikini in sunset orange for lounging by the pool, a purple surf shirt, and board shorts for active days. The community pool that had once been territory too frightening to navigate became her sanctuary. Early mornings found her gliding through water, blonde hair tucked under a silicone cap, body moving with newfound grace. "Your stroke technique has improved dramatically," noted Marjorie, a 70-something regular who swam daily for her arthritis. She'd been one of the first community members to accept Alani without question.
Must be all that practice.
"It's easier to move naturally when you feel at home in your body," Alani replied, adjusting the strap of her blue swimsuit. 1 year after that fateful vacation day, Alani and Zoe returned to the same resort. They'd discussed the symbolism of the trip extensively, Zoe suggesting it as a way to mark how far they'd come, Alani initially hesitant about revisiting the site of such profound change. "Are you sure about this?" Alani asked as they unpacked in a room identical to the one they'd shared a year prior. She hung a selection of colorful sundresses and swimwear in the closet. No men's clothing anywhere in her suitcase. "I think it's important," Zoe replied, arranging toiletries in the bathroom. "For both of us to see this place through new eyes." Their relationship had transformed in ways neither could have predicted. They were no longer husband and wife in the traditional sense, yet remained committed partners. Zoe had processed her grief, educated herself, joined support groups for spouses of transgender individuals. Alani had learned patience, understanding that her transition affected everyone in her orbit. The pool where everything began looked smaller somehow. Alani approached it wearing a new swimsuit, a halter top one-piece in vibrant coral with a pattern of white flowers. Her blonde hair, now well past her shoulders, was swept into a side braid. Sunglasses perched on her nose, and a sheer white cover-up fluttered around her thighs. "How does it feel?" Zoe asked, adjusting her own sun hat. "Being back here?" Alani gazed at the water, reflecting the cloudless sky. "Like visiting the place where I was born." They claimed loungers in the same spot where the fateful game had unfolded. No truth or consequences, this vacation. Just the truth of who they were now, individually and together. Alani slipped off her cover-up and stepped into the pool, the water welcoming her like an old friend. She floated on her back, eyes closed against the brilliant sun, marveling at the journey a single dare had initiated. Later that afternoon, a resort staff member approached their loungers with chilled towels. "Anything I can get for you, ladies?" The casual inclusion in ladies sent a ripple of joy through Alani. "We're perfect. Thank you." Zoe reached across the space between them, taking Alani's hand. "Yes," she agreed, squeezing gently. "We are." The vacation became a celebration rather than a commemoration. They snorkeled in crystal waters, Alani's vibrant swimwear matching the tropical fish. They danced under the stars, her sundress twirling as Zoe led her through familiar steps with new dynamics. They talked late into the night on their balcony, mapping out possibilities for their future. On their final evening, they walked along the beach at sunset. Alani wore a maxi dress in shades of turquoise and blue that echoed the ocean beside them. "Do you ever regret it?" Zoe asked suddenly. "Accepting that dare?
Starting all of this? Alani considered the question, watching waves caress the shore. How can I regret becoming myself? Yes, there's been pain, complexity, challenges we never anticipated, but living authentically, I could never regret that. I thought I'd lost you. Zoe's voice caught. When you first told me, I grieved like you had died. But then I realized you were always Alani. I just couldn't see her before. They stood together, watching the horizon blaze with final light before surrendering to dusk. Different than they were a year ago, yet somehow more completely themselves than they'd ever been. Thank you, Alani said simply, for being willing to take this journey with me. We're still writing our story, Zoe replied. Different characters than we thought, but maybe a better ending. As darkness fell over the beach, they turned back toward the resort lights. Alani walked with confidence, her stride graceful, her spirit finally aligned with her form. The woman she'd always been had emerged fully, brought to life by an unexpected dare and the courage to embrace her truth. The resort pool lights twinkled in the distance, a reminder of where it all began. Alani smiled at the sight. From one moment of vulnerability had emerged a lifetime of authenticity, one swimsuit leading to a complete transformation. The consequences of truth had never been more beautiful.
Thanks for watching, my girlies. Be sure to check out Patreon for more.